We would like to introduce you to the DIR Floortime model, a targeted intervention for children with autism.
Autism is a neurodevelopmental disorder characterized by the triad of impairments, which includes social interaction, language and communication, and repetitive or restricted behaviors.
The DIR model was developed by Dr. Stanley Greenspan. DIR stands for Developmental, Individual Difference, and Relationship-Based. The model focuses on these elements in order to tailor the intervention to the individual by assessing the child's functional, emotional, developmental stage, identifying the child's individual information processing style, and focusing on the development of interactive relationships.
Floortime is only one component of the comprehensive DIR model. Floortime represents both a specific intervention strategy and a general philosophy that should characterize all interventions for children with autism. As a specific strategy, Floortime represents a period of play, generally 20 to 30 minutes that should happen multiple times a day. During this period, play is a spontaneous, unstructured activity where you get down on the floor with the child and try to follow his or her lead. Floortime fosters emotionally meaningful learning interactions in order to encourage functional, emotional development and nurture social interaction. Floortime has two central principles: following the child's lead and creating a shared world between the child and the adult.
In the Floortime approach, following the child's lead means focusing on the child's interests to understand what is important to him or her. It is essential to focus on whatever interest the child has, regardless if it is unusual or unconventional. Understanding the child's interests gives insight into his or her emotional world. This includes first observing the child to see what he or she finds interesting, and then engaging with the child in order to discover why the interest might be meaningful. Let's look at an example to better understand this point. Amy is a young child with autism. She spends her time playing with blocks. In one instance, Amy's teacher observes Amy continually banging together two blocks. Her teacher comes over and engages in the same action with Amy. By doing so, she can get a better understanding of why this action is meaningful to her and what benefit it has. For Amy, this action is relaxing and reduces anxiety.
Capitalizing on the child's interests allows adults to join into the child's world, the second component of Floortime. Specifically, adults join into the child's desired play scenario. Play allows for communication, empathy, social interaction, creativity, and reflection, and ultimately fosters a child's development.
Strategies for creating a shared world include building on and extending unstructured play using the child's interest, sabotaging play as a communication temptation, supporting and modeling communication and social interactions with peers, and using dramatic play to foster an understanding of others.
Play sabotage, also known as playful abstraction, is a common technique to draw a child into a shared world. It requires an adult to get in between a child and his or her action and become a part of his or her play. This Floortime strategy attempts to elicit meaningful communication in a child. To illustrate an example of this strategy, let's look again at Amy. Amy is repetitively building towers and knocking them down. This repetitive play is not functional for her and does not include communication attempts. Her teacher first observes Amy's play, and then she obstructs it by putting her hand over the top. By blocking the path to her tower, Amy's teacher encourages Amy to communicate. Amy becomes frustrated and attempts to move her teacher's hand. The teacher persists and removes her hand only when Amy says, "Move." Removing the sabotage then acts as a natural reinforcement for communication.
Dr. Greenspan has shown that with as few as 6 weeks of Floortime intervention, many children give up repetitive activities and are involved in more joyful, interactive ones. A variety of evidence-based research supports the use of DIR and the Floortime component across contexts. Different studies estimate that 45 to 58% of children show very good to outstanding developmental gains, including improvements in executive functioning, academic abilities, emotional intelligence, and social interactions. Further research has demonstrated that children in a Floortime program show significantly better engagement and relating, shared attention, and social problem solving than those without Floortime. In longitudinal studies, researchers have also shown that 10 to 15 years after the implementation of DIR, children maintain their positive gains in empathy, creativity, reflection, and academic success.
The DIR Floortime model is most effective for children on the autism spectrum. Children on the spectrum are often characterized as being in their own world. Floortime serves to break this isolation and connect children to their social surroundings. As with all interventions for autism, it is most effective as a very early intervention, so ideally, it should begin when a child is as young as 2 years old, the time autism begins to be diagnosed. The Floortime model is ideal for children with autism as it works to increase communication and social interaction, which are primary deficits associated with autism. Consequently, children with other types of communication and social delays will also benefit from this program. Typically developing children can also benefit from the program's focus on play extension and the fostering of social and communication skills.
These strategies can be easily integrated into a play-based curriculum, but other curricula can be modified to incorporate Floortime principles. Whereas the implementation of certain special education strategies may depend on specialized settings or resources, Floortime transcends educational settings due to its focus on play. Therefore, this strategy requires play to be built into the classroom. Floortime strategies are most typically used in early childhood, and most early childhood settings focus on play. For older children, or in situations where play is not an existing component, educators are encouraged to incorporate play even for short periods. All children will benefit from having break periods, even if they don't require the intensive intervention of Floortime.
Implementing the play-based strategies that have been discussed, along with the other components of a comprehensive DIR program across all contexts, produces the most effective gains. The motto of this strategy is Floortime all the time, everywhere. Ultimately, the DIR Floortime model helps to integrate a child's social, emotional, intellectual, and educational goals.